Well, I've got a question for you. Have any of you ever been lost on the road?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have. Have any of you ever been frustrated out there?
Yes.
Have any of you ever been afraid you'd miss an exit?
Yeah.
Or have you ever missed the exit?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I'm in good company today, it sounds like, because that's yes, yes, yes for me. It seems like the exit is always the scariest thing, is because it's like, oh no, now I'm not going to get to my destination, right? It's just like, that was my one try to get there. But of course, that's not true. So we've all had lots of driving experiences that we could share, but there's one that happened a few weeks ago when I was going to visit my dad for one of his eye appointments that has really, I think for me, takes the prize. And I think it always will. So here's my experience. When I was growing up in Kansas, lived there all my life in the country, but there's Neodesha and there's Independence. These are the two towns that we went to all the time. Those are the ones that we frequented. Okay, so Neodesha, I went to school in that little town. And it's pretty little, so when we did our shopping, we'd go to Independence. We went to church in Independence, and it was a straight highway, straight from Neodesha to Independence. And in the middle was a little tiny town called Sycamore. And so tiny that you had on one side of the highway was the grocery store, and on the other side was the post office. Okay, so that's Sycamore. And so very easy to identify all of those places. So when I went to visit recently, and there's also a gravel road before Sycamore. Okay, Neodesha, Sycamore, Independence. This is really important. There'll be a quiz afterwards. But right here was a turnoff, which Katie and Jonathan named the Bumpy Road. And that was the road that goes to the farm. Okay, so a few years ago, they redid that highway. I don't know why they did, and I sure wish they wouldn't have, but they did. And it didn't really matter to us because when we'd come to visit, we'd come through Neodesha, cut off into the bumpy road to go. But Mark and I got a different car a while back, so I didn't want to go on the bumpy road because it really is very bumpy. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go on to Sycamore, and then I'll have it cut off there, and I'll have a paved road all the way around. A little longer, but I thought it would be worth it. So I went past the bumpy road for the first time since they had redone that highway. And so I'm driving on. As I mentioned, it's a straight road, a straight highway from Neodesha to Independence. And I'm thinking, well, where's Sycamore? What happened to Sycamore? And I'm seeing things that I didn't really recognize, and I'm thinking, well, where's Sycamore? And so I start panicking and everything. Of course, that's my natural reaction. And so I'm thinking, what happened? So I just kept going a little bit more, and I thought, well, maybe it's farther than I remember, even though I've been on it like 100 million times. And so then I saw this exit that said, exit to Independence. And then my GPS comes on and it says, take the exit to Independence. And I said, no, that's not the way to Independence. And I just insisted to myself, and I just went past that. And I just thought, no, I don't know. Maybe that's a different Independence. I don't know, but that's not the way to get there. So I went on, and then I realized this is not familiar at all, and I'm not even running into Independence. And so I turned around and came back and started feeling like I was really it was just weird. Yeah, it was weird. So I came back the other way, and I thought, oh no, there's another exit that says Independence, exit. And GPS lady comes on, take the exit to Independence. And I said, no, that is not the way. I was very stubborn about it. I was just sure. I was so sure. And I just thought, no, it can't be right. It can't be right. Well, I thought, I am so close to home. I can just practically smell it. I got through Kansas City, which is always horrible. I got through that, got through everything else, and here I am a few miles from home, and I can't find my way. And I could just practically smell it. In fact, on a windy day, you can smell it because there's a pig farm out there. But I thought, well, how am I going to do this? So finally, after much wailing and gnashing of teeth inside the car, I had to call my dad and say, I don't know how to get home. And he says, well, you just take that exit that says Independence. And I said, it can't be right. It just doesn't seem right. He said, well, that's it. So I went back again, around again. And this time I took it and I thought, well, even then I thought, I have to see Sycamore. I have to see Sycamore somewhere. And I just was so turned around, I could not believe it. And so, lo and behold, there shows up Sycamore, little Sycamore. Because I had thought, they say if you blink, you can miss it. And I thought, maybe that's what happened. But that's not what happened. And so, if I had trusted the signs, I would have made it home sooner and less frazzled. And I still don't know what happened on that highway, but I do know that you have to take the exit to Independence. So, this last week, I traveled to my dad's again. Didn't have any trouble with that road. But Kansas City, as I mentioned, I hate it. How many of you have had to drive through Kansas City? It's not fun, is it? No, it's scary, even with GPS. So, but I have to do it because it's part of the journey, and I always find out that I'm closer to Jesus afterwards. So it's good for me, but I don't enjoy it. And of course, when we're together, which is most of the time, he drives, and I'm probably sleeping during some of that time. But anyway, I had to do it again. So moving ahead with the speeding traffic, that just makes you nervous, doesn't it? You have to keep up with everybody. And there isn't a lot of time to contemplate what lane you're going to do. So that's why I love the GPS that says, get in the left lane, get over another one. I love the GPS. But even then, there are times that you just think, no way, that can't be right. So then there are the underpasses and the overpasses. And I went through one of those. I was going through this underpass, following the directions. And then I happened to glance up over here where the other one is going by. And I saw the sign and it said 35 south. And I thought, oh no, I'm supposed to be on that one. And then I thought, no, don't pay any attention to it. That's not even your destination. That's not even your home. That's not even where you're going. So don't look at it. So I try not to look at those. Exits. I think exits are a love-hate relationship. They can take you exactly where you need to go, unless they don't. But I have found out one thing. If you do take the wrong exit, you won't fall off the edge of the earth. Because it always will bring you back around if you'll read the signs and pay attention to them and trust them. There you come, right back on the right road again, right? And it feels so good to be back on track again, doesn't it? After you've wavered a little bit. Always does. Well, this week, I was journeying to my destination and my GPS warned me, there will be some road work happening in Kansas City. So I thought, oh no, I gotta go back and get Mark. But he couldn't go. So I prayed hard and I thought, okay, this time I'm just going to trust the GPS and I'm going to trust the signs even if they don't make sense to me. And so panic went away, kept praying. I called on my angel to sit in the front seat. I think we should talk to our angels more. We're not supposed to pray to angels. We know that. But really, I think we should be more aware of the presence of our angels, right? And not just when we're panicked. But anyway, I thought a lot about my angel then. And so I made up my mind that I was going to trust the signs. So, yep, there was a detour and there was an exit suggested that I had never heard of before, but I trusted it. And you know what? Not only did that exit that I'd never heard of or noticed before, it got around the traffic. There was less traffic. It was wonderful. I'm going to remember that exit. I think maybe we should do that some other time. And I didn't even lose any time. So when I trusted the signs, everything turned out so much better. And I still got to my destination. Well, these experiences really make me think about other signs, the signs of the end, signs of the times, signs along our journey home. Signs that we need to not only be aware of, but to trust no matter what. Even when we may have other signs distracting us, even when we take a wrong road and have to merge back in, even when we are totally sure that our own direction is more reliable than the obvious signs that are telling us which way to go. So you've gathered by now that these illustrations that I shared are going to focus on some of the signs of the end in our spiritual journey to our final destination of home with Jesus forever. We can't look at all of them today, but we're going to look at a few. Nothing I say is going to be earth-shattering, but everything from the Bible is going to be great news. So, as the time approaches of Jesus' return, we're supposed to go back to these. We're supposed to review them and concentrate on them and encourage each other. So, what are some of the signs? Well, if you want to follow along, you may in your Bible. Genesis 6:3, we'll start with that one. That's where the Bible is comparing the end time with the time of Noah. You probably have it memorized. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Now, does that sound like our world just a little bit? Okay. Matthew 24:37 through 39. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So there's another clue for us. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. And they knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So we need to compare our time to that. Is it here? Is it starting to look more like Noah's time? Do current conditions resemble this? What do you think?
Amen.
Yes. The headlines read of unsettled conditions of society, politics, foreign relations, natural disasters, and people will say, we've always had natural disasters. We've always had wars in nations, but not as rampant and not as frequently. The rampant decay of morality, political and spiritual unrest, and an endless variety of clashing spiritual beliefs. We have political chaos, even inside of our own country. Nations are angry. By this we will know Jesus is coming again. But one belief is shared by people all over the world. Something is up. Something is up. They aren't sure what it is, but something is not right in the world, and everyone feels it. And that's why the Bible gives us signs. Revelation 14 gives us, what's the big thing that Adventists know is in Revelation 14? Yeah, 3 angels' messages. Well, so the first one is basically, God is still the creator and deserves our worship. How often do you hear people talking about that outside of church? Do you run into people at work or, just on the street, people saying, God deserves our worship. God's the creator. God has the answers. Not a lot. The second is basically saying false worship is rampant. Oh, false worship. Man, we've got not only variety of Christian worship, which we have false teachings inside of. We also have New Age movement and all of those things. We've talked about that so much in our church. And even outright devil worship. Have we all always had all those things? Yeah, they've always been there. But they're acceptable now, and they are the norm now. I think that sounds like Noah's time. And the third message, if you follow the false teachings and deny God's commandments, you'll be on the wrong side of God's final wrath. And let's be clear about God's final wrath. This isn't the time when God just says, you know what? I'm sick of you guys. I'm going to get rid of you. It's a time when God, the God of love, says, it's clear to me, very clear to me, and it's clear to you that you've chosen another way, so I have to do the dirty work and finish this off. God is always a God of love, always. Okay, how about famines in our own area? We have, as Ruth mentioned, we have 5 families now that we've been able to contact, and the person in charge of that has said, I can't believe, she says, when I got involved in this, I was amazed at how many kids in our community are really, really hungry. And so we're going to be able to enter into that, and thanks for the idea, and get into that and help with that. So that's exciting. So, I always think of famine as somewhere else, but it's not. And of course, there's spiritual famine. How about pestilence? What comes to your mind when you hear the word pestilence?
Flies.
Oh, flies. Okay. They are a pestilence. Anything else? COVID. Yeah, right. But God's getting us through all of that as well. All right. Children being disobedient. Children have always been disobedient, but it's different now. Trust me. It's different now. Children turning against their parents. Parents turning against their children. Natural disasters are coming more frequently and more intensely. And then we just have open irreverence for God. I think that can be well compared to the time of Noah. The depth of immorality and the lack of human compassion has really, that's become normal too. When it's, I don't want to get political, but I can't let this pass by. When humanity has come to the point of saying it's okay and encouraging other people to say it's okay and putting into law that it's okay for a human being to be killed right at the time of birth even, that's got to be pretty close to the time of Noah, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. That's pathetic. That is not human compassion. And even an inability to think clearly and make rational decisions seems to be at an all-time high. We weren't alive before the flood, so we can't know for sure, can we, what it was like exactly. But we now have media to spread the decay even more rapidly. So if we're not there, we will be soon. But the good news is that the gospel can also be spread more rapidly and further. And it is being. So how should we navigate these signs? By trusting them. Trust the signs. We can trust them because Bible prophecies have shown us already that the Bible is trustworthy. So we can trust the road signs that have been given to us. Another way to navigate the road of life brings to my mind advice that Mark has given me about navigating the roads that we drive here. He always says, drive your own car. That's pretty bottom line. It's pretty good advice. Don't let other travelers influence your decisions of how you drive. That's good advice that I've thought of often and recently, because I sometimes find myself worrying about what other drivers will think of me. Am I really, really strange, or do you ever feel that way? I don't know. I feel that way sometimes. They'll think I'm holding up traffic, or they'll think I can't keep up with the fast lane. They'll wish I wasn't even out here. Those things come to my mind. So that can also apply to our spiritual journey, can't it? Worrying about what other life travelers will think of you, feeling like you don't belong if you don't travel the fast lane. If so, remember, drive your own car. Yes, ask for God to be there with you. Read the roadsides and then drive your own car. Other travelers may not even be going in the same destination as you. So don't be distracted by their signs. Drive your own car. Speaking of other travelers, I really enjoy out on the road. I'm sure some of you do this too. Just praying for random people, like when they pass. Or, just seeing a family go by in a van or something. I like to pray for them and pray that, that if they know God, that they'll stay that way. If they don't, that they'll find him. And I think, wouldn't it be cool if someday we meet people in heaven that we only saw that long, but that God put in our mind to pray for them? I hope they're praying for me. So speaking of our destination, do you ever feel like you get caught up in the roadblocks of life and lose sight of the actual destination? That happens to me a lot, but we should never do that. Our destination is why we live and breathe. Our destination is our purpose. We're born, our purpose is choose, and then stick with it and help other people choose. Our destination is God's gift through Jesus' death on the cross. Our destination is what keeps us traveling. We should remind each other of that. And we should be ever mindful of the home that we're heading for. Well, and finally, the final sign signs that we want to follow have to do with the second coming of Jesus. As the scripture has described, the scene of Christ's appearance fills the entire sky. Every eye is entranced at the sight. It's such a glorious scene that even the righteous tremble and ask, who shall be able to stand? In answer to their question comes the clear and penetrating voice of Jesus saying, my grace is enough. The faces of the righteous light up and joy fills their hearts. And at that moment, the living righteous are changed from mortal to immortal. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, the Bible says they are caught up in the air to meet the Lord. And then comes the sound we all long to hear. The sound of Jesus' voice penetrating all of the earthly commotion as he raises his hands to the heavens and says, awake, 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 everywhere on the earth, awake. And ye who sleep in the dust, and arise. Throughout all the span of the earth, the dead in Christ hear that voice and come up out of their graves, and the living and the resurrected unite in shouts of victory. Angels carry babies and children to their parents' arms. Spouses are reunited, and all of God's people rise together to meet in the sky. No more road signs. No more white knuckles on the steering wheel. No more of that. No more distractions to other directions and other destinations. It's all over. Jesus is driving. Jesus himself will place a crown of life on each of the redeemed, and a new name will be given as well. Revelation 2:17. A harp is placed in every hand as holy angels lead the glorious music. Isn't it a shame when people think that all they're going to do in heaven is play a harp? The point here, if we really look at that verse for what it says, it's not saying, here's your harp, go play for eternity. It's saying a harp is given so that you can just join in the music. No lessons, no going to YouTube and figuring out how to do it. You can just play. You can just play a harp. And that's going to be exciting. Here is where the last sign appears that says, you have reached your destination. I always feel good when the GPS says that. You have reached your destination. But how much greater at that moment to know that we've reached our destination safely and forever. The great controversy is ended. Sin and sinners are no more. One pulse of harmony beats through the vast creation. From him who created all flow life and light and gladness throughout the realms of space. From the minutest atom to the greatest world, all things, animate and inanimate, in their unshadowed beauty and perfect joy, declare that God is love. We have arrived. And speaking of the travel to get there, that's going to be amazing. The trip to heaven, I guess we don't need any signs. We don't have any more signs. And the meet and greet, that's going to be cool. With people, with, of course, Jesus, the Father, and even with animals. Meet and greet. That's going to be good. Adam and Jesus see each other for the first time, and we get to watch that. And then, of course, later, the new earth, made as God wanted us to enjoy it in the beginning and before sin. But even more than that, imagine that day from the perspective of Jesus, the one who waits there. My dad likes to go outside and wait. You know, we tell him when we're coming because he says, okay, I'll be out there waiting. And he, not as much as he used to because he can't, but he always says he will be. And so it's fun to be that person that greets company, right? Yeah, Katie and Nathaniel will be coming in a few days. It's so fun. You watch and you wait, and it's fun to have people arrive home for the receiver of the family. So surely this is what he's anticipated more than anything else. To finally see the response of the redeemed as we take it all in. Surely this is what he was thinking about as he hung on the cross. This is what made him endure. Imagine the excitement in the heart of Jesus as he sees us receive what he has given everything to provide for us. I don't want to deprive him of having that moment for me, and I don't want to deprive me of having that moment either. Well, our journey home has unplanned detours and distractions and missed exits and merging back on, but it also has beauty and growth and the companionship of angels. So let's buckle up, read the map, trust the signs, and drive your own car. And I do want to close with a beautiful poem that was written by Norma Beard, and it's called The Road That Leads to Heaven. The road that leads to heaven is a road that's long and steep. Sometimes it's full of rocks and mud and cracks within the street. Sometimes the road is winding and the stops to rest are few. We go around in circles and we don't know what to do. And then sometimes the narrow road reveals no end in sight. You travel long and travel hard and deep into the night. You look for signs to light the path, and signs cannot be found. In fear, you steer off course again, and you must turn around. The road that leads to heaven is a road that's hard indeed, but on this road you won't be lost, for Christ will take the lead. He'll guide you on the dusty road and through the wind and rain. He'll take the wheel when all you see is hurt, despair, and pain. For God has sent a road map that will safely lead you home to where the Lord will meet us at his bright and shining throne. The road to heaven is a road that's sure and yours to find. For on this road are paths that lead to love and peace of mind. The road may bend and curve a while until the journey's end. Just know that God was steering you, for he's your dearest friend. The Lord may take you down some roads that you don't understand, but don't turn back or be afraid of God's unchanging hand. For with his hand he leads us to a cool and peaceful shore where sorrows are forgotten when we call his name once more. The trip may leave you battle-scarred by burdens you will bear, but as you turn the curves of life, the Lord is standing there. So don't despair, my friend, when life is not as you had planned. You won't get lost, for God will lead you to the promised land. Don't exit off. Just hang on to the roadmap you've been given. For this, my friend, will guide you on the road that leads to heaven.
Amen.